just so that you know he knows you're real.
All right, coming from Fort Churchill. Let's see what this sign says.
So stay on the trail. Warning.
Warning, instructor and ruin safety concerns. The buildings is prohibited. Please stay on trail. Efforts are underway to restore ruins to conditions of structural safety historical.
No, stay on the trail.
So,
Everybody's been kidnapped out here and fucking, yeah. Yeah, you get lost out here. Go around in a circle. Ready? Get out of there.
it's fine.
He got something. Oh, got his paw stuck.
Well, that's why you don't go over there.
Come here. Come here, buddy. Give me your paw.
Alright. Alright.
Door. Early year door.
This was a bakery. I guess there was a dome over this at one time.
That's a big hole. It's a bakery.
This is where they used to bake their goods.
Bake the food?
There probably was a dome over this. Look like this over here was somewhere on this. Anyway, there was a door
Yeah,
to hold in the heat.
they cook the food.
So if you wanted bread or anything, you just went there to the bakery. He's fine. He's fine.
Hey.
He's fine.
He's sniffing the trail out. Come on, baby. Come on, darling. Here he's coming.
All these were made out of mud.
This used to be the hospital.
Here's where they used to take the soldiers. When they were injured, it was the hospital.
Made out of mud.
Pretty good sized building.
Oh yeah. Big building.
But it says the hospital was essentially L-shaped, including a kitchen, 3 small rooms, and cellar. The exact number of patients the hospital could accommodate is unknown based on limit records. Seems likely there was 20 or fewer patients at a time. A staff of one of the post surgeons and one of the matrons treated and nursed both soldiers and civilians. The post surgeon was also responsible for sanitation on the post, garbage disposal, and company kitchen inspection. Which you can see the L shape, and there's the cellar back there.
It's not real big, is it? It's L shape.
There we go.
Up. Neat building. That's made out of mud and dirt and bricks. That's mud on those bricks. Mud and sand. They do make them like brick and sand.
Now there's this building down here. We'll go down to this building, see. This is the other side of the hospital. See, it's a L shape. And the little cellar is over here. Now this is, let's see, laundress quarters. Army regulations allowed for the laundress, the women who lived in the four-room structure, to provide an essential necessities, back-breaking laundry services for men at Fort Church, who valued spit and polish. The Army provided living quarters and a daily ration for each woman, while the soldiers themselves paid for laundry services. Laundresses were often the wives of enlisted men. When rising construction costs threatened to eliminate the laundress quarters at the fort, the soldiers united to prioritize completion of this building.
Oh, they're not very big. Each unit's not very big. They live in one big unit, all in one room.
Well, this was also, one side of it was living quarters, and one side of it they did their washing. that was part of their duties. Is each room had a couple, probably not washing machines, probably old wash tub stuff.
Oh yeah, they found them on they used a scrub board.
Yep. So
I've done laundry on a scrub board. It's no fun. And they had all the regular work machine. It was the thing, man. After they came out with the electric board, they thought they would just live in power on the hall when they had one of those type deals.
So the laundress quarters, where the women for that did the laundry lived. I'm not sure if there was wash machines in, not wash machines, but wash tubs in there. But they might.
Mom remembers washing clothes by hand. Your grandma. She could put it up. She when the regular washing machine came out, her mom was glad to get it.
Burbo.
Then when the electric one, they finally got electric one. Then
There was the back half of the hospital.
they didn't heat up water to put in that stuff. They didn't have a hot water tank.
Burbo. Is the substance storehouse. At one time, these all had roofs at one time. Guess the roofs have rotted away. And it looked like this was another storehouse of some type. The quartermaster storehouse. Now the storehouses. The quartermaster and the subsequent storehouse were deliberately situated near the commander's office within view of the guardhouse to discourage thievery. Both storehouses were built with 20 inches thick adobe walls and included a finished office and a large unfinished storeroom. The U.S. Army stored and distributed food and other equipment from these storehouses to troops at Fort Churchill and across northern Nevada. Then up here we got Bravo! There you are. Alright. This is the commander's office. This 2-room building served as the administration headquarters and the courtroom for Fort Churchill. Though small office small, the office would have included everything necessary for officers in charge of conduct business and communicate beyond the fort. The office served as a top-up for the Pony Express and housed a telegraph to help spread news, major events across the county, including President Lincoln's election, the start of the Civil War, and Nevada's statehood.
What's this one do?
This is Commander's office.
I'm gonna walk back to the car, okay, hon?
Alright, we'll meet you over there.
Go to look at it.
Yep. Alright, this is the officer quarters. Looks like a lot of it has fallen down. There's not much left of it. But officers and their families lived in 6.5-story building made of adobe walls 20 inches thick, wide porches shelters 3 sides of each building. And attached to the back was a woodshed and a pavy, no trampling through the weather. For these officers, their first officer contained a patrol, 2 bedrooms, a dining room, and a kitchen with a cellar. Life at this post was far more present than other more isolated outposts, and officers consider Fort Churchill as a luxury assignment.
Said that he's gonna be a good price. He didn't give us a price, but he said it'll be way cheaper than the fucking machine stop. But he said as long as you get all the parts, he'll do it.
Yeah, it'll probably be next couple weeks though.
Okay, well let him know, Mom.
This is the officers' quarters.
Order the parts, but it'll be about a couple weeks or so.
And it looks like they're trying to do restoring on some of the walls up in here. You see that wall has fully collapsed, and they're trying to support this wall, but it don't fall down either. But all this is made out of the dirt that we're standing on. Hey, Rulo. The officers' quarters.
She hangs up on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I asked her where she is. She's, I'm right here. I'm like, oh, you fucking girl.
Oh, they have a parking lot over here too.
Uh-huh.
Oh well.
Uh-huh. Ready? What are you doing? What are you doing, big girl?
Like the next building that we're going to see is no longer standing, just the foundation of it. This little hump over here, and this is looks like it's an officer's quarter, so it's gonna look something like those ones over there. I guess all these down through here are officer quarters. Rudy being such a good boy. Yes, he is.
Yeah, go ahead. Piss on everything. Come on. Nope. Ready? No. When he runs, he looks like a bunny. The way his ears are.
Well, they have had a lot of officer quarters.
That doesn't stay standing. You can still see the mud phone.
Yeah.
Weather up here kind of takes them down sometimes.
Well, between the weather and the, well, you make them out of adobe, which is dirt. And dirt, what does it do over time?
It melts.
It melts because it gets muddy.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised all these ones are still standing halfway.
well, if they restore these things like they say they're going to do, be pretty cool. Now remember when I was a kid, the building that was standing there was still there. It's not no more.
I hope it's melting down.
But that was years ago.
Yeah.
This is one of their barracks right here.
Ready? There's two of them.
And this one down here is another barracks. Boop, boop.
Look, there's one right there.
And this is the mess hall. All right, where's dinner? So much for the mess hall. Looked like it went down back in the dirt.
I think Mother Nature wanted it to go down. Said, screw this, you guys can't eat here. What are you doing, Ruby? Here's Ruby. Looks like another one.
And this is another barracks that has been claimed by Mother Nature.
Here's another mess hall.
And another mess hall. Man, they had two mess halls. Did one serve breakfast and one serve dinner for the different people that work different hours.
There you go.
Here's okay, this one is a little bit of the living quarters for one company of approximately 100 men, consisted of 3 buildings, 2 barracks, and a combined mess hall kitchen. By October 1860, 6 barracks were up, but only partially finished, and would remain this way for years. For the enlisted men, life at the fort was isolated and unpleasant. They lived in dirt forts, barracks, barracks, finished the crude beds, and the chairs ate a mangy diet of beef, salt pork, bread, and coffee, and performed manual labor for $13 per month. Recreational was largely limited to fishing on the river or drinking and playing cards at the post or Buckland Station, which is Buckland Station is right down the street from here. Well, a lot of these weren't finished. Like this one, it was built up, but it was never finished.
This one's in there, mess off.
Wow. I wonder what kind of dinner they had, huh? I wonder if they made any good food. Heard those MREs will constipate your ass if you eat too many of them. That's the ones that are given to the Army nowadays, MREs.
Frank, get over here.
He's okay. Goofy! Now that goes to a different part.
Yeah, it's for the natives.
Nature trail, what it is.
And they don't like people on their trails.
Well, they're fine. Over there is the river where you see all those cottonwoods all along down by the river. Those cotton trees just grow. I wonder how full the Carson River is. I wonder. We'll check and see before we leave here. I'm sure at one time there was a lot more buildings like in the center area.
Yeah. Here comes our sign.
So there's another sign coming up here, so maybe we get a little bit more information. Okay, this is actually showing us a picture of back when it was, how it looked then. So this little front area was there pretty much where they marched and did everything out in this field right here that's covered in sagebrush now.
Says unknown picture.
But as you can see, you got the Indians over one side, which looks like maybe back over here. The Indians in their camp was back over here.
Yeah, that's the trail we're on right now.
And that,
Right there.
I think, was right here. And that building is that one. No known photographers of the Fort Churchill from its period of its operations existence today. A knowledge of the fort physical aspect is limited to written descriptions and one lithographic drawing. The drawing shown here is the circular adobe buildings arranged in a square round and parade ground. Notice the absence of a defense wall or a barrier. Fort Churchill had no exterior walls since it was intended to be regional base of operations supply depot rather than a defense post. So yeah, you have a lot of forts that come around with the walls around that keeps people from coming in, and you only can come in one way. Here's the guardhouse. Okay. Located in an isolated position of the south side of the grounds, construction of a guardhouse was completed in the spring of 1861. The building two front rooms served as an officers as quarters to the guard duty, while the cell block contained 4 7-foot by 4-foot cells. During the life of its fort, this building held all sorts of deserters, drunkards, ballers, thieves, and other criminals. So this was basically, in other words, the jail of the fort. Like there was bars up over the windows at one time. Let's go around back here. Now let's see what we got over here. Powder magazines. So this is where they kept their bullets, pretty much. Kept their guns.
But look at the wall.
And it caved in. But it kind of if you kind of see if we can get a little bit closer here. But that's how the walls were put up. They were made bricks, then the dirt was put outside. But it was all glued together by mud. The very ground that we walk on. That's the fort, guys. That's
House.
And we got a donkey in the background. Hear it?
you ever get one, I'm gonna end up killing you.